morning. It is our third day, and welcome to school this morning. Geometry students, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much for your responses and stuff like that. Just to give you guys a warning, I hope you're watching and listening. There's a few of you who are not earning your daily points. I know you're watching these videos. I know you're doing the homework because I'm getting it. However, during these videos, I ask you to do something to kind of like let me know that you've watched it. And I need those responses on the daily take. So today is March 19th. That means if you do not respond somehow to this March 19th video the way I'm about to ask you to, you don't get the participation points for March 19th. So there's some of you the last 2 days, I've known you watch the videos and I've known you've been doing the work, but you haven't gotten the participation. Like if you look in the grade book, all I have in there right now is participation. Maybe by the time you're watching this, it will be for both the 17th and the 18th. But if you did not do what I ask you to do on the day that I ask you to do it, you receive a 0 for that. And I don't like giving zeros when I know people are doing things, but they're just not listening to the video, okay? And so please make sure you listen to the video every day and listen whether you're supposed to email, whether you're supposed to respond by a Google Doc, whether there's something else I want you to do. But guys, I know I can look up in the computer and I can find a phone number for you, but that does not mean it is your phone number. So there are a few of you, I don't mind if we would call and talk to each other while you're trying to figure some of this stuff out. You guys know that I am more than willing to try and help you figure out what's going on. And sometimes, especially since I cannot physically see you, I don't know how you're doing, and maybe you're getting completely lost and you don't have a clue what's going on. But you don't really feel like you have a way to reach me, and I don't have a way to reach you. That's almost the more important thing. So for today's point, as soon as you read this, you can hit pause on this video and go to Gmail, and please go to the email account. And I would like, please, obviously I'll know who it's coming from, but I would like you to email me your cell phone number. Okay, please email me your cell phone number. When you email me, it's going to say who it's from so I can keep track. And that way, like if you are doing something and you email me and you say, Miss Jabs, I'm really stuck, I have a phone number to call or text. I know I don't have an iPhone, so we can't necessarily FaceTime, but there is something else I'm going to post as a picture, probably either today sometime, whether it shows up with this post, I don't know, about Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts is honestly like we could be typing and chatting to each other, or we can video chat on there. That's something that Gmail sets up for us. And so that's something that is really, really nice. There's been a few people who I have done that with, and it is a video chat one-on-one. We can work on the board in the background. You can ask me a specific question. I'm talking just to you. There's probably going to be a day where I say all of geometry, please try to be on at this time, and I'll make the call and we can all be talking just like it's first period. So let's pray real quick. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for giving us this day and giving us another opportunity to learn. And just be with us throughout our next few days and weeks. This is a different type of learning, and there's a lot to do and figure out and follow along with. So help us to keep on doing that well and to keep our grades going well. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Hey guys, I know if you ask in class, I'm able to immediately put that prayer request up. But just know that when you email me, I get those prayer requests and I say a prayer right away for that. And I also add it to a list that's right on the side here. And I just am always thinking about you guys and hope you're doing well. So today's lesson, we could transition in proofs eventually. And I know proofs are kind of not so fun. So it's one of those things that eventually we'll do, but I don't know if we're going to do it, especially too because it's hard not interacting when we're trying to do that proof. But on that end of course example practice test I had you guys do one time, which by the way, if you're ever not busy with all of this schoolwork, which I know it's kind of crazy, I would recommend maybe re-looking at that. We have not been told yet a whole lot, honestly. I know there's some other states that are going to have no school for the rest of the school year. We haven't heard that yet in Ohio, but we do know Governor DeWine has kind of alluded to the fact that it might not just be when they say. We currently, at our school, just because of the way our spring break falls with Easter in there, we don't have to come back to school to April 20th. But there has kind of been some talk going around about when we're going back or if we're going back and all that stuff. I really hope and pray that we do get back to school this year. It's crazy not seeing you guys. So don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us, because teachers are missing you and teachers are here for you. So a couple of other things, as I've been asking the last few days, like, how is school going? How do you like the digital school? And a couple people are like, oh, my teachers aren't there for me. If you don't think I'm here for you, you're kind of off base just a little bit, because I am at my computer at school. I'm usually sitting at school too, during the school day, just waiting to hear from people and waiting to get responses. And sometimes I'm busy with other people. I've been doing some hangouts with people, and that way I can't respond to you right away. But if you really need me, I am there for you. Please reach out and find me. And once again, that's why you should have already emailed me your phone number. That way I have a way to get to you. If for some chance you don't have a cell phone, or the cell phone is not working or something, maybe like a house phone or a way, or if you're like, Ms. Jabs, here's my phone number, but honestly, email is the easiest way to get a hold of me. I totally understand that too. So getting back to proofs, if you remember when we did triangles, we're going to be working with triangles today. There was four ways that, we had to get those three things. That's why I said three just a second ago. Remember, there was always three on our list. Like, we had to have these three things congruent to these three things. And if we had those, we could say that the two triangles were congruent. Now, I did say the word congruent right there because we're not on a congruent chapter. So who would like to remind me? Hopefully you're already thinking of that list. There were a few things that were safe, and then there were a few things that were unsafe. Okay? So what was our safe list? All right. You probably said a few things, and they don't have to go in this order. But safe is SSS, SAS, ASA, and then either AAS, or remember we could swap that around and it wasn't a big deal to write it as SAA. I am not going to write them both on the board because there were two other ones that when we were doing congruence, it was like, absolutely do not use these. All right? And the one is the donkey postulate, if you guys remember what I'm saying. I am only going to write it this way just because I want to be safe. And this is why I was trying to do that. I wanted to make sure the glare was not bad on this. I wanted to make sure you could see it. So I was trying to get it set up so that you could see it a little bit better. And it looks like the glare was still there just a second ago. So hopefully you get those written down. I'll move it. Oh, good. Well, you can see all the letters. You just can see the thing that says no right there. So I apologize. Guys, the other day when I was looking at some of your homework, you're doing really, really well. But don't forget that if two shapes have to be similar, all of the sides have to be proportional. There were some of you when it was a quadrilateral, meaning four sides, you only typed in two of the sides. Like you said, 12 divided by 50, 24 divided by 100, and you typed only those two sides in. You must check all sides and see that all sides are proportional. However, we're transitioning into similarity, and so if we look up here on the board, our letters get to change around a little bit, okay? We still need to know about things being proportional, but angles only have to be congruent. And the thing is, in a triangle, if we have two congruent angles, wait a minute, there's three angles in a triangle. And so if I have two angles in one triangle and two angles in another triangle, and I know that those two angles are congruent, the third angle in each triangle also has to be congruent to each other. And you're like, but Miss Jabs, that is talking about congruence. Here's the cool thing. If we have 3 congruent angles, it is guaranteed that the triangles are similar. I mean, just think about it. I could draw a triangle right here in front of you. Now, this is our first example, so it has numbers on it. But if I look at this triangle right here, and I move it back like this, the angles would still be the same. The lengths of the sides, like if I had it really, really close and you used a ruler to measure the lengths of those sides, and then I moved it all the way back here, and you used a ruler to measure the lengths of those sides would not be the same. But if you measured those angles, they would be the same. And obviously, it's this same shape. It's just like I zoomed in or zoomed out. And so if I have 3 angles the same, it is guaranteed that the shapes are similar. But if I have 3 angles the same, I actually don't need to have all 3 marked. Because again, right here, D is marked congruent to L. If I had B marked congruent to its, which would, by the way, would be N, that would automatically guarantee that the last angle was congruent to each other. So we have something new, okay? We have something new. This list back here was our safe list for congruence. We are gonna have a safe list for similarity. So you know what? It's gonna cross off, and that's part of the reason I'm leaving it there. It's gonna cross off a few of my options right there, because safe for similarity is just 2 angles being congruent to each other. If 2 angles are congruent to each other in a triangle and another triangle, those 2 triangles would not be congruent, but they would be similar. So AA is a way we could prove 2 triangles are similar. AA is a way that is safe that we could prove 2 triangles similar. So part of the reason I wanted to leave this back up here is because now I'd like you to look through. You know what? I'm going to erase ASA because that had 2 angles in it. And because it had 2 angles in it, it's on my safe list already for similarity. So I'm going to erase that. And I hear some of you shouting out, you're right. I'm going to erase AAS because that's already on my safe list as well. Now, here's kind of the weird thing. AAA was not safe for congruences, but AAA is safe for similarity. So I'm going to erase that guy. And so now we just have 3 people left on our list. That was for congruence. We're trying to figure out if it's similar. Now, the way it works out, if I have SAS, that angle in the middle still has to be the same, but remember we're doing similarity. What's true about sides with similarity? Right, the sides don't have to be congruent, the sides have to be proportional. So you know what the case is, and I'm going to do a few pictures here, and you kind of saw one of them real quick. If we have SSS, or if we have SAS, because those were safe for for congruent, they will still be safe for similar, but instead of the sides being congruent or equal, the sides have to be proportional. Now, if it's SSS, you have to divide all 3. That's what I started out saying. Some of you weren't doing that yet, and you would actually probably lose points. Now, this is honestly why I've been teaching you the donkey postulate all year. It is really never safe. If I have 2 sides and an angle, by the way, that's only 1 angle. And the sides, guys, the donkey postulate is still not going to work. Sorry, I'm moving the word no down so that the way I was seeing the screen, it still kind of is a glare, guys. Let me see if I can do something to help that out a little bit more. But we have a new safe list. You know what? I'm just going to write it on here instead. That's a good idea. We have a new safe list. But we still have one that is not good. So There might be times on your homework tonight that you say, no, those shapes are not similar because one, it might still use ASS, but number two, it might not actually work out the way and be one of these that we think is okay. If all your sides are not proportional, then you cannot use that to prove the two triangles similar. So I'm going to slide that to the side so I can kind of slide in front again, and we're going to look at a few examples here, and we're going to see whether or not it would be on our safe list or not. Now, if we were in class together, I would call on somebody, but since we're not in class, and unfortunately I'm just using random letters on this paper, we want to be careful about how things line up and how they are. But your homework is going to look a lot like this tonight, and it's going to look similar to something we've had before, but it's just using similarity today instead of congruence. So, you can go ahead and hit pause on the video, copy down this problem, and then when you're ready to go, unpause it again because I'll start talking. So if we look at these two triangles, we've got to figure out if they are similar or not, and then we've got to figure out why they might be similar. See how this kind of looks like a proof, but I'm not doing the whole thing. So first of all, we have to look very carefully about the letters that were listed here and figure out what letters, and maybe in your mind or on your paper, you need to look through that. This time it's a little bit tricky because our numbers are not the same. But would you agree that in the triangle that's listed, 72 is the smallest number, the shortest side, 108 would be the middle length, and 144 would be the longest. All right, so we want to kind of make sure that we line up this shape to go from in the same order, because we know that 30 would be the shortest, 45 would be the middle, and 60 would be the biggest, right? So let's do our circle, swoop, loop thing like we've done before to start at T and go to S. Through U to S. So I'm going to start on T, go through U, and then I'm going to swing around to S, right? So if you look at that, I put the circle between the small and medium length. I went over the small length and passed through the big length before I put my arrow. So I'm going to put my circle around small, medium. I'm going to put my circle around G. But then I'm supposed to swoop over the smallest one, then to the biggest one. And so that's the order that I should list my letters in. But I'm not going to fill it in yet because we've got to make sure that when I type it into a calculator, those ratios are the same. Now, as you guys have been emailing me back and forth and different things like that, I've had a lot of great questions. It does not matter. I mean, TSU is listed first, so maybe we should type in 72 in our calculator first. Everybody please type in 72. And then the first one over here would be 30. If I do 72 divided by 30, I get 2.4. That means every time I do this division, I better get 2.4. Because if I don't, for every single side, it can't just be two of the sides, it's got to be all three, then I can't say these two are similar. So I did 72 divided by 30. I better move on to 144 divided by 60. Good, I got 2.4. And even though we didn't pass over this side, I've got to check all three sides. So I'm going to do 108 divided by 45. All of them are 2.4. Since I got the same ratio on all three, or the same proportion ratio, we know that. These two are similar. And so I'm going to write triangle TUS, because that one was listed, that would have been printed on your homework, is congruent to, I said it accidentally, similar to triangle GHF. And again, if you are not sure how I am getting GHF, make sure you contact me and talk to me. And which one of our safe options did we use? SSS, thank you. By SSS. And then because we're not doing congruence anymore, we're going to write by SSS similarity. And again, if you kind of would go back to that end of course exam practice thing, you would notice that that is what is on one of the proofs on there. We had that, okay? So one of the proofs on there was given that. Now, you've got to be careful when we're doing this, because you've got to make sure that things are lined up the way you want them to be lined up, and make sure things match up the way you want them to match up, but yet be careful, because you can't just switch where things are. That's kind of confusing what I said, but I'll explain in just a minute. So we're going to see if triangle LMN is similar to another triangle here, and if it is or is not. Now, if you remember, there was some times where you used to have to be able to say no, not congruent. There is a chance that even though it's written like this, we might determine that the answer is no. And I'm going to fix that for after we finish this example problem. So go ahead and hit pause again until you're ready to go. All right, so we're looking at these two, and you can tell these are not lined up. I want to hold the paper like this and then twist it like this. But if you notice, even though this looks like an L or something, this is a 7, this is a 6. 7 is bigger than 6, and if I hold it this way, 14 is bigger than 12, right? So I can't just tilt the triangle that way. I also have to kind of think about flipping it around. But we know that as well, and we've done that. Now, it almost looks like you want to say SAS right away because of how this is marked and because we've done congruences with that. But please remember, we have got to make sure that it actually is proportional. So if I look at LMN and I do my swoop, I pass the 6 and then I pass the one that's blank. Now, since 6 is smaller than 7, I'd have to think about 12 being smaller than 14. Start at the marked angle. That means I'm going to start here at D, pass through 12. That would help me get the order. But we also have to, and this one is pretty easy, so I don't necessarily need you to type in your calculator, but 6 is half of 12, and 7 is half of 14. So those ratios already do work out. So these two would be similar, and it would be similar by SAS. Oh no, I wrote that in the wrong spot. I wish I could erase, but I was using pen. That's why you should always use pencil in math class. Triangle DCB. And it would be by SAS. Once again, SAS, what are we testing today? Not congruent, but similarity. So there we go. Sorry, I had to scribble out because I made that mistake. Use pencil. All right, now here is what I mean, and I'm gonna definitely make it look wrong because I'm gonna use this and blot it out. What if this original triangle would have looked like this, and I'm covering this up so we don't see it there, and those were our numbers? Well, we would do a lot of the same work, okay? We would pretty much do all of the same work. But when we would go through to divide, and we would divide, oh look, 6 matches up with 12. 6 divided by 12, on my calculator, my answer says 0.5. But if I would now do 7 divided by 15, my answer is not 0.5. It is 0.466. Is the proportion of 6 over 12 equal to the proportion of 7 over 15? No. So please don't feel like if this was the problem with a 15 here instead of a 14, you'd have to fill this in. You would just, for problem number 3, say no, not similar, just like we used to do with congruence. So guys, I know my video is running a little bit long, but I just want to look at a few more problems. This one is a real quick one. I didn't even fill in what it is. Who sees a bow tie? Perfect. Since we see a bow tie, I could mark those in the middle. How many angles do you see marked congruent? Done. Because look what's on our safe list, AA. So we could have already filled in those. The last one, once again, has a bow tie. So what could we mark? Yep, we can mark our vertical angles. Remember, that's been something we've been doing since the beginning of the year. So as soon as you see that, and now we have to be careful. We would have to be careful about how we list this. How many people could see that I might try 40 divided by 63? Because those are kind of both the numbers on top. Would you please use your calculator and do 40 divided by 63? I got 0.6349. Okay, keeps on going a ways. Memorize that number real quick and try 45 divided by 56. 45 divided by 56. That's 0.8035. So it looks like if I tried to go like this and like this, those would not be similar. Don't stop right away. Because what if I would match up the 40 with the 56? Would you please do 40 divided by 56 on your calculator? I'm seeing 0.71428. Keeps on going a little bit. But since I did 40 divided by 56, I would now have to do 45 divided by 63. 0.714285. It matches that way. So you sometimes have to be very careful in the way this is listed, and you might want to think about the fact it didn't really make sense the first time because I did 40, which is the smaller of these two numbers, divided by 63, which is the bigger of these two numbers. So please make sure you're thinking about that a little bit as well. Guys, I really hope to be able to hear from you or see you in the next few days, whether it be just responding through emails or if you do need to get some help and do a video chat. I hope you have a great day. Bye.